Stop. Stop believing the beautiful lie that has been feeding your desperation for years. The law of attraction, that seductive promise whispered in 1,000 self-help books, repeated in millions of YouTube videos, sold in weekend seminars, by gurus who smile too much, is not what you think it is. You've been sold a fantasy, a spiritual McDonald's that tastes sweet but leaves your soul malnourished and craving more. You sit there, night after night, visualizing your dream life with the desperation of a drowning person reaching for driftwood. You repeat affirmations like prayers to a God made of your own neediness. You want the house with the white picket fence, the love that never disappoints, the success that validates your existence, the recognition that finally proves you matter. You want and want and want, and then you wonder why the universe seems deaf to your pleading, why your vision board remains a collection of pretty pictures rather than lived reality. But here's the truth that will shatter your comfortable delusion like a hammer through glass. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are, not what you wish you were in your most optimistic moments, not what you pretend to be on social media when you carefully curate your spiritual persona, not the person you promise to become tomorrow when you finally get your life together. What you are right now in this very moment, in the depths of your unconscious patterns, in the shadows you refuse to acknowledge, in the actual frequency of your being. This is what calls to you from the quantum field of infinite possibility. The universe doesn't care about your wish list. It doesn't respond to your desperation or your positive thinking or your carefully crafted intentions. It responds to your vibrational signature, the sum total of your beliefs, fears, traumas, and authentic essence vibrating through the fabric of reality itself. And that signature, my friend, is written in a language far older than your wants, and far deeper than your conscious mind can comprehend. Since the moment you could understand language, you were taught to believe that wanting something badly enough would make it happen. That good intentions mixed with positive thinking were the golden keys to manifestation. Your parents told you to dream big, reach for the stars, never give up on your goals. Your teachers said work hard and you'll get what you want. As if life were a vending machine where effort equals reward. Religion promised that prayer and virtue would be rewarded by a benevolent universe keeping score. Society whispered that if you just tried harder, believed stronger, visualized clearer, practiced gratitude more consistently, the cosmos would bend to your will like a cosmic butler serving your desires on a silver platter. They filled your head with stories of people who attracted their perfect lives through vision boards and affirmations. They sold you books about the secret, the magic, the mystical laws that would transform you from ordinary human into manifestation master. They convinced you that you were just one technique away, one mindset shift away, one breakthrough away from finally getting what you deserved. But what they never told you, what they couldn't tell you because they didn't know, because they were just as trapped as you in the same beautiful illusion, is that wanting itself is the very vibration of lack. When you want something desperately, you broadcast to the field of infinite possibility not abundance, but your deep, cellular conviction that you don't have it. You don't just want love. You are someone who experiences themselves as fundamentally unlovable. You don't just want wealth. You are someone who feels poor in their bones, who carries the frequency of scarcity like a genetic inheritance. You don't just want success. You are someone who believes, despite all evidence to the contrary, in their own inadequacy. The pain of this recognition cuts deep, doesn't it? Like a blade sliding between your ribs to touch your heart directly. All those years of trying, striving, hoping, visualizing, affirming, and you were actually reinforcing the very patterns that kept what you desired at arm's length. Your wanting was a confession of your emptiness. Your desperation was a prayer to remain desperate. Your seeking was a declaration that you were fundamentally separate from what you sought. You were conditioned from birth to chase, to pursue, to hunger after life like a starving person begging for scraps. But here's what they never taught you. In school, hunger doesn't attract food. It attracts more hunger. Loneliness doesn't attract love. It attracts more experiences of being alone. Fear doesn't attract security. It attracts more reasons to be afraid. Poverty consciousness doesn't attract abundance. it creates more elaborate forms of lack. The very act of wanting creates the gap between you and what you want. The very act of seeking confirms that you are a seeker, someone who doesn't have what they're looking for. And the universe, in its perfect mirroring of consciousness, gives you exactly what you are. More seeking, more wanting, more gap, more separation from your good. Deepak Chopra understood what the ancient Vedantic sages knew, what quantum physicists are beginning to discover, what mystics have whispered across centuries. Consciousness is the ground of all being. Not your thoughts about consciousness, not your concepts or beliefs about reality, not your intellectual understanding of metaphysics, but the pure awareness that you are before you think about what you are, before you label yourself, before you create the story of being someone who wants something. This awareness doesn't want anything because it is everything. It doesn't lack anything because it is the source from which all manifestation arises. It is the screen on which all movies of desire and fulfillment play out. It is the space in which all seeking and finding occurs. It is what you are beneath all the layers of conditioning and identity and personal history. The quantum field, that infinite ocean of potential that physics has discovered and mysticism has always known, doesn't respond to your wants or your vision boards or your carefully scripted affirmations. It responds to your being. It mirrors back to you not your hopes and dreams and wishful thinking, but your actual state of consciousness. If you are fear masquerading as positive thinking, it gives you more experiences to be afraid of. If you are love embodied as flesh and blood, it gives you more opportunities to express and experience love. If you are abundance flowing through human form, abundance flows to you and through you naturally. This is not the mechanical law of attraction sold in glossy magazines and weekend workshops. This is not the spiritual materialism that treats the universe like a cosmic catalog from which you can order your preferred reality. This is the fundamental principle of existence itself. Like attracts like, but not in the superficial way you've been taught. Consciousness attracts corresponding experiences. Being attracts matching circumstances. What you are in the depths of your awareness is what shows up in the details of your life. The ancient Upanishads declared with breathtaking simplicity, Tat Tvam Asi. Thou art that. You are not separate from what you seek. You are not a beggar, at the doorstep of the universe, hoping for cosmic charity. You are not a small, isolated fragment of consciousness trying to manipulate reality from the outside. You are the universe experiencing itself through the lens of your individual awareness. You are the field of infinite possibility appearing as this particular form, this specific perspective, this unique expression of the one consciousness that is all that is. But this knowing must become more than intellectual understanding, more than philosophical concept, more than spiritual idea to collect like trophies on your metaphysical shelf. It must become your lived reality, your embodied truth, your moment-to-moment experience of what you actually are. Here lies the radical truth that transforms everything, the paradigm shift that changes not just how you manifest, but what manifestation even means when you become what you seek. Seeking ends. When you embody love, you don't attract love from outside yourself. You are love expressing itself in form, creating love wherever you go. When you embody abundance, you don't attract wealth from some external source. You are abundance flowing. Through you like a river flows through the landscape, touching everything in its path. This is the new virtue. Not the virtue of sacrifice and self-denial that religion taught you. Not the virtue of positive thinking and forced gratitude that New Age spirituality prescribed, but the virtue of being. Not the virtue that comes from trying to be good, from following rules and guidelines and spiritual practices, but the virtue that emerges naturally when you remember what you actually are beneath all the conditioning and fear and learned limitation. When you are peace. Peace surrounds you not because you attracted it, but because you are it, radiating from your core like heat from a fire. When you are joy, joy finds you in every circumstance not because you manifested it, but because you recognize it as your own nature appearing in countless forms. When you are wholeness, you stop trying to complete yourself through external acquisitions. relationships, achievements, or experiences because you realize that wholeness was never missing, only hidden beneath the belief in your own incompleteness. This is not positive thinking with better marketing. This is not affirmations with more sophisticated language. This is not the law of attraction dressed up in quantum physics terminology. This is ontological transformation, a fundamental shift in what you take yourself to be. This is not pretending to be something you're not until the universe believes your performance. This is removing the false beliefs, the learned limitations, the inherited patterns that hide what you've always been. The sun doesn't try to give light. It doesn't have a morning practice of visualizing brightness or affirming its luminosity. It is light, and therefore light radiates from it naturally, effortlessly, without agenda or attachment to outcome. The ocean doesn't try to be wet. The fire doesn't try to be warm. A flower doesn't try to be beautiful. They are what they are, and their being naturally expresses itself as their doing. When you become what you seek, you give from fullness, rather than grasping from emptiness. You love from overflow rather than neediness. You create from inspiration rather than desperation. You act from wholeness rather than trying to become whole through action. Your life becomes not a series of attempts to get what you want, but an expression of what you are. This is the secret Chopra points to with the precision of a surgeon and the compassion of a mother. Stop trying to attract your good life and start being the goodness you seek. Stop trying to manifest your dreams and start awakening to the dreamer. Stop asking the universe to give you what you want and start discovering what you are before you want anything. But even this understanding, even this beautiful recognition of your true nature, even this profound shift from seeking to being must die. Even the identity of being someone who understands the real law of attraction must be released into the silence from which all understanding arises. Even the achievement of becoming what you seek must dissolve into the emptiness that births all becoming. There comes a moment on every authentic spiritual path when all seeking ends, when all becoming stops, when even the desire to be your authentic self falls away into the profound silence of simply being. This is not the silence of death, but the silence of pure potentiality. This is not the emptiness of nihilism or depression, but the pregnant void from which all creation springs. This is not spiritual bypassing or premature transcendence, but the natural maturation of consciousness beyond all forms of seeking. You must be willing to let go of even your highest spiritual achievements. You must be willing to release your attachment to being awakened, conscious, evolved, or enlightened. You must enter the dark night of the soul where all identities, including your spiritual identity, including your identity as someone who has transcended the ego, are burned away in the fire of pure unknowing. This is the great dying that precedes every genuine rebirth. This is the dissolution that makes space for what has never been born to reveal itself. This is the silence that allows the still, small voice of your deepest truth to finally be heard above the noise of all your spiritual concepts and metaphysical understanding. In this silence, something extraordinary happens. The river of your being finds its source. The candle of your consciousness touches the flame from which it was lit. You discover that what you are is not a someone at all, but the very awareness in which all someones appear and disappear. You realize that you are not a person having spiritual experiences, but the very consciousness in which the experience of being a person arises. This withdrawal into silence is not escape from life. It is the deepest possible engagement with reality. This retreat from all seeking is not giving up. It is finding what was never lost. This death of all desires, even spiritual desires, is not the end of life. It is the beginning of life as pure creativity rather than reactive patterning. Even the most beautiful flower must die to become the seed of new flowers. Even the most profound realization must be released to make space for deeper truth. Even the most authentic version of yourself must dissolve to reveal the self that was never born and will never die, the self that is prior to all birth and death, the self that is reading these words right now through your eyes. The mature soul learns not just how to become, but how to dissolve. Not just how to manifest, but how to release. Not just how to attract what it wants, but how to want nothing and thereby become available to what wants to emerge through it. The invitation now is not to try harder or want more clearly or refine your manifestation techniques. The invitation is to stop, to pause in the midst of all your spiritual shopping and striving and ask yourself the most fundamental question: what am I, really, beneath all these layers of seeking and wanting and trying to become someone other than who I am? Right now, take a moment. Right now, as you read these words, put down the burden of trying to attract anything. Release the exhausting project of manifesting your desires. Let go of the identity of being someone who needs to improve their life, their consciousness, their reality. Instead, simply be present to what is already here, already alive, already perfect in its mysterious unfolding. Feel the awareness that is aware of these words. Notice the consciousness that is conscious of your thoughts about these ideas. Recognize the being that simply is, without effort or achievement or spiritual accomplishment. This is what you are before you become anything. This is what you seek in all your seeking. This is what you are trying to attract when you think you want love, abundance, peace, or joy. If these words have touched something true in you, if they have opened a door you didn't know was there, if they have reminded you of something you forgot you knew, write this simple commitment in the comments: I am what I seek. Not as an affirmation to make something happen, not as a technique to improve your manifesting abilities, but as a recognition of what has always been true, what could never not be true, what is true even when you forget it completely. Let this be your new practice, your deeper understanding, your lived reality. Instead of asking what you want, ask what you are. Instead of trying to attract experiences, become present to the experiencer. Instead of seeking love, discover the love that you are. Instead of manifesting abundance, realize the abundance that is your very nature. Instead of trying to create your reality, recognize yourself as the consciousness in which all realities appear. The path forward is not more techniques or strategies or methods of attraction. The path forward is not more books or courses or teachers or gurus. The path forward is the pathless path of being so completely yourself that life has no choice but to reflect back to you the truth of what you are. Stop wanting your life. Start being your life. Stop attracting your dreams. Start awakening as the dreamer. Stop trying to become someone worthy of love, success, abundance, or peace. Start recognizing that you are the very source from which all worthiness springs. This is what Chopra knew when he spoke these words that cut through decades of spiritual materialism. This is what the sages have always known, what they've been trying to tell us through every teaching, every practice, every pointer toward truth. This is what you have always known. Beneath the noise of seeking, beneath the desperation of wanting, beneath the illusion of being separate from your good, you are what you seek. You always have been. You could never be anything else. The only question is, when will you stop seeking long enough to notice?